Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Abroad Show, coming to you live 6 p.m. Different time this evening. Obviously, it's been a week. It's been something else, but we're happy to be here, and I hope that tonight can be somewhat of a little bit of a distraction from what's going on out there, especially for us, Victorians and Melburnians, and we might touch on that later. But that's what the purpose of today is all about. We've got a whole round to recap. We've got themes and issues. And we've also got a mid-season review, which is going to be led by you guys. We're going to ask some questions, and you guys will lead the answers to that. So I'm looking forward to that. Dan, welcome to you, my friend.
Hey, how are we doing?
No Diego Simeone here tonight. Slick back vibes.
Nah, we got a little bit of a indie, more relaxed look. Feel it's suiting with the mood.
Yeah, no, it's. I love the shirt. I love the whole get up. But again, a different vibe here.
Different vibe.
Yeah. Obviously. The show, the channel, nothing is possible without quite a few people. Shad, who does the work behind the scenes here, runs a company called Assertive Media, who brings us this beautiful studio. So Shad, thank you once again, mate. We are eternally grateful for it. And for this month anyway, we've got our friend Brandon, who brings us gorgeous coffee every single week for the month. He runs a company called Melbourne Coffee Roasting Co. And he's put a special deal together for us all. You go to the website, melbournecoffeeroastingco.com. You use the code Carlton15 and you get 15% off your order for that order. And you can do it twice. So make sure you go and check that out. And we do thank Brandon for that. And then we get to the members of the channel who are the lifeblood. And last week was fascinating. We actually had 15 members, 13 of which joined during the show last week. So we thank you very much. I'm going to go through the Premiership members and the Finals members. So ZV3, Black Carrot, and Jesse F, who are our Premiership members. We've got Riley Starrage, Dom Pangrazio, Rowan Vertigan, Matt Holmes, the Pressure Point Podcast, Jake Libis, Benjamin Spiller, Rafi Vartanian, Jim Teleski, Jono 267 and Damien Munier, who are Finals members. And then the rest of you who are regular members, we've got a little slider down the bottom and all your names are there. There's just too many, and it's sort of gotten to that point where there's too many names to read out now. So thank you very much. I believe Adam Galgano and Omar Kazi are missing from that list because of where we were limited to characters. But thank you very much, guys. And your support does not go unnoticed. But we shall begin. The therapy session, Dan, it was a tough one to swallow. Some might argue it was coming. Some might argue there were cracks appearing, and it was just the culmination of that. What was it for you? What happened?
Well, it's a tough one to pinpoint on it because they came out of the block so strong, and it was kind of everything that we envisioned. It was everything we hoped for that would happen. We looked good. We moved the ball quickly. We hit them hard on the outside. We looked to get it inside 50 as quickly as possible, play into the outnumber. It was perfect football for a quarter. And then, unfortunately, this side at the moment has the telltale signs that when it's the hunter, it looks good. But when it's the hunted, it seems to retract into its shell. And it just never changed. It was a little bit like the Tasmania game last year, wasn't it? Clarkson makes a few changes at the break and Tom Mitchell and Jaeger get clear, and Jaeger again just destroyed us, bullied us around the ball.
Yeah, it was... We talk about on the journey to becoming a great team. You've got to bridge the gap between your best and your worst. And we've had games where we've been poor, and we've also had games where that gap, where we actually play our best football and our worst football, it was all in one on Friday. It was bizarre. And I mean, everything was there: energy, intensity, pressure, efficiency moving forward. It was all there, and you can not excuse it, but if it sort of dips a little bit and you sort of lose the game in a short, by a short margin, you can sort of pinpoint a few things and say, oh, if we just clean up and we just clean that up. But everything just went the complete opposite. And as great as it was even like, if great is here, if good is here and bad is here, it was as good as it's ever been and as worse as it's ever been in a span of 20 minutes. I mean, that second quarter, like, who the hell knows what happened?
It's a tough one, I mean, because we just kind of played second quarter all to the strengths of Hawthorn. We discussed in Analytics Corner about Sicily not allowing him to take intercepts and get into the game. We just kicked to him one on his own about 6 times the second quarter. By the third quarter, he'd probably had about 12 touches that we'd gifted him. No one locked down Isaac Smith, and I'd love to know what happened to Ed Kerno in the first quarter. He was on Tom Mitchell, and he was moved off him after that. And you didn't see Tom Mitchell in the first quarter, and that's the problem with Tom Mitchell. He's one of them players, if he gets his eye in, he hurts you. And how many times did Mitchell get it out of the centre contest, over the top to Isaac Smith on the run, and it was an easy inside 50, and kind of the wheels just fell off from that point.
Completely. I find this year especially, I use the bubble analogy, and your form is reminiscent of a bubble, and it grows and then it gets popped. You got to blow a new one, and it was like our bubble was sort of growing over the last few weeks, and then it literally just burst at quarter time. And the challenge is going to be, how do we create that new patch of form now? That's really what it is. It's momentum swings in game. It's momentum swings in the season, and we're just going to have to pick ourselves up and just be better.
I mean, I think you've got to look at it this way. Every time we've done this a few times now. We did it against Melbourne, where we looked absolutely pathetic. When we do look pathetic, the week after, these boys do adjust. These boys do learn. They've got an added week this week to really hone in the lessons learned. And there is some harsh lessons. It's about being up for it for 4 quarters. Sometimes teams, Hawthorn are a beautifully run team that they can hit you hard. They can bully you. They're one of the few teams in the comp that can play pretty and ugly and be efficient at both. And this week we got schooled in a lesson of intense, hard to the ball football. And it's time that they're going to have to learn it this week. Yeah,
there's a whole new learning, and we'll touch on what's working and what's not working shortly. But I do want to get to some of your comments at home. I'll start on Facebook for a change. Simon Schuster has said here that our best footy is great to watch, which couldn't agree more. Rocco Morrow says, sorry, but we made Hawthorn look like it was 2013. Christian Georgopoulos, what do you guys think of the assistant coaching panel? Does the Hawthorn game raise any eyebrows? Well, that's a good question. We might get to that during the fan Q&A, because that's something we've been talking about for a while now. We did add Luke Power to that group over the offseason, but that's a really good question. We'll just hold on that for now. Debbie O'Connor asks, who was on Mitchell and O'Meara? Well, who was on Mitchell and O'Meara? Like you said, Ed was on Mitchell to start.
Yeah, he was, and then he kind of drifted off him. So Ed seemed to be in the third and the fourth quarter. If you look at the heat map and you watch the game, seemed to live with Jaeger in the third and fourth, which I'm not too sure why that change was. I know O'Meara was battering us in the second, though. He was being a physical presence, and no one could really go with him. Like, the wonderful thing about Jaeger is he doesn't look as big as he plays, but he plays probably as big as Cripper does in size-wise. He does physical, throw people around, and he was allowed to do what he wanted at times.
Yeah. Tyler Shaw says, a lack of pressure and no composure after the second quarter. It's a learning experience, but the boys will learn all of that over the year. David Taylor, Carlton enjoys surrendering to Hawthorn and have done since 2005, except for the year 2017, when the Blues denied them making the 8. Very good point. And this is from David Taylor. Another harsh lesson is coming after the bye, and can Carlton compete against the Eagles? We'll definitely get to that. Tyson Munro, we change our focus when we are that far in front and play like millionaires, unfortunately. I'm hoping this can improve, or else we don't improve. I could not agree more with that. That one right there from Tyson Munro.
I think he's spot on, because that was one of my points this week. It was a chance to play a side that is vulnerable, that is hurting, and how ruthless are we as a group? And we had them on the ropes first quarter.
Well, I messaged you, I think it was towards the end of the first quarter, and I think the group with yourself, me and Dane, and I think I wrote something along the lines of, what was that? What is happening? And your reply back was, I don't know what everyone was worried about. And it was a bit of that. But I agree. I agree that the champagne football started coming out, and I don't remember who said this to me, but someone said champion teams do the simple things consistently. Yeah. And it's so true. We went away from the basics, and we got caught out with our hands in a cookie jar. And then when it was time to wrestle it back, it just didn't happen. Oh,
I mean, Hawthorn, like, credit to them, they did well. But as I said in my review, they're not that good. They're not 30 points better than us good.
Yeah.
And that flattered them. And that was more on our own backs than them playing exceptionally well.
Yep. Let's go through some YouTube comments. Josh Cleves, don't know why, but I'm going to the Eagles game after going to the Hawks one. Pray for me, boys. We're praying for you, mates. 888 Curly, I worry that we will respond this week, but our response against the West Coast will be a 4-goal loss instead of a 15-goal loss. Flinny Wolf, Carlton is a young side. Hopefully we learned something from Friday. I don't know if we're young. We might be inexperienced in winning games of football, but I don't know if we're a young team.
Well, no, we're now what, fifth youngest, so that's shot down now. But if you actually look at games played, which is what really does count as, we're right in the Premiership window with games played as across the squad, which to me, that's what we should be looking at, not age, because we've ploughed games into young people.
Yep.
But now these guys are experienced. They know how to play footy.
Yep. Fallen Sports says, good win from the Hawks. Thank you very much. Fallen Sports is a Hawk supporter on YouTube. Thanks, mate. Good game. Good luck for the rest of the year, and thanks for tuning in. Black Carrot says, hello. Josh Cleves, going to the game this weekend. Pray for me. Yep, saw that, mate. Rafi Vartanian, the only team that beats us is us. Good point. Blake Mullinger, any changes you think should happen? We'll get to them for sure. Rafi again, under Bolton, we were young. Under Teague, we're developing. That's an interesting one. Fallen, as I said in the Pommy review, I think our list is better and we shouldn't lose them with our talent. But the form line, you guys really should have beaten us. He's obviously a Hawthorn supporter. Josh Cleves, I feel like we don't have that winning mentality. The last time we smashed a team was 2014. And then Stefan Guzardi says, I have a feeling that Carlton will get up against the Eagles. So let's touch on the leadership aspect. I was hesitant. I can't remember. It might have been, I don't remember which win it was. I think it was the Essendon one. And there were patches in that game where I just sort of said to myself, you know, these guys, they don't know how to win. Like, they don't know how to win. And, you know, when you look at our best players and our leaders, so you look at, you know, these two, Cripps and Doc, they make mistakes throughout the games at various stages. And, you know, and I'm just being brutally honest now. I mean, we've got Murph and Simo and maybe Ed Kerno as the elder statesmen who are, you know, more senior to these guys. Who are they to sort of, what are they going to be able to say to Cripps and Doc in terms of looking them in the eye and say, hey, you should be doing this and you should be doing this? Because, and this is where I think there's a bit of a stain, like a generational stain. Murph, Simo, Ed have all come up the ranks at this football club in a losing side for the most part. So, you know, losing culture, losing habits, it's like we're just used to it in a sense. And so when you got these two who are now entering that prime of their careers, who's going to be able to really rein them in and you know, give them that flick across the year or whatever needs to be done? And who can do that? And this is why I start to think when it comes to the end of the year, do we need to look at bringing in a premiership player who's done it, who commands that respect? And don't get me wrong, Murph, I'm sure he and Simo command a lot of respect. But in terms of, you know, winning premierships, because that's what we're here to do. That's what we want to do with this group. Who do we have there that can really, you know, lead from the front when things turn to shit?
It's a valid point you make. I mean, personally, I think that would help. I would have thought, though, we're kind of probably, I wouldn't say beyond it, but I would say it's probably a bit too late. It's a little bit like stage 4 in Melbourne now. It's too far gone to do that. But I think that they're starting to learn to win. They are starting to learn to win. And the experience is coming. The results are there. It seems to be when we lose in a different scenario. This time was different to last time against Melbourne, where we couldn't grind the win out. This time it was simply a case of, I think we took the foot off the pedal way too soon.
Yeah.
And we didn't seem to know how to adjust our game plan from that manic high to the manic low. Like, psychologically, that must have been huge for the boys. 30 up at quarter time, suddenly all square at half time.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell happened?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's an argument there that they've got to learn to adapt to that. But for me, who would you bring in now?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at players, I mean, probably the most experienced player who's got flag winning mentality and is a leader is Basher Hooley. We know Basher Hooley's highly rated at Richmond for the work he does with the VFL side. So is he an option? He's won 2 flags.
I just can't help but feel like, because when I look at Richmond, they didn't go out and bring in the premiership experience. They went through the learnings, but it took a while, and we've only just gone from complete debacle and can't even compete for 4 quarters and can't even compete to this where we're at now. And I feel like this will be a bit of a trend for a while, because you got to fail over and over and over again until eventually the penny drops. And I'm just mindful of this timeline. Like we, after a loss, the club, the supporters, we demand so much because we've been so patient through this, second rebuild over the last decade, we'll call it. So these are just questions that come to my mind. And obviously I want to open it up to you guys. What are we lacking here? What's missing here? What is it for you?
I think we missed someone to play ugly. Watching that game, when I'm watching Jaeger throw people off the ball, we lack someone who's physical. I do think we lack someone in that Mitch Robinson type role that buys time for the better players around him. There was a lot of times, I know there's been a lot of criticism for Murphy, but I thought sometimes Murphy was forced in a position where his skill set isn't that. He's never been a tough tackling midfielder. He's never been a particularly physical midfielder. So he was sometimes, though, left in that situation. So I don't really blame Murphy. You can't learn to be tough.
Yep.
That's an inherent ability.
Yes.
So I do think we lack that. I also think as well, for me, we lack another quality small. Someone, if you watch Sydney, they've stayed in games purely because of Papley. They've been absolutely woeful up and down the ground. But Papley has the ability to just kick a snag. And I think this was case in point this week. We saw there wasn't anyone good enough to do that. There wasn't. Cripper tried to do it. And to me, that's a worry, because a question I asked the audience is this: is a lot of it's been made out from Kane Corns and the media about Cripper's kicking at goal. Now, Bontempelli gets slated for it. A lot of the midfielders get slated for it. Cripper's kind of gone under the radar with his goal kicking, and his goal kicking is atrocious. If you look at it statistically, it's no worse or better than Bontempelli, but he chastised for that. My question to the viewers is, do they think that Cripper, it was caught on camera, he's screaming for the ball off the mark from McKay, which I personally think McKay should have taken the set shot. He's the key forward. Is that maybe a case of Cripper doesn't have the faith and wants to do it himself? Is it an over eagerness? I think he puts too much on his shoulders. I personally see a man at the moment who is trying to carry us to victory as opposed to just playing his part and being happy. Now, I felt Cripper looked like kind of he was desperate. He wanted to be the guy.
Yep.
And to me, that I question, and I'd love to know what the viewers think, is that because Cripper doesn't believe we're good enough, or is it because he puts too much pressure on himself to do it?
It's interesting because the last few weeks, we've all lauded the fact that there's been an even spread. Kennedy, Walsh, Setterfield, Gibbons have all really led, between the 4 of them. And Cripps has taken a so to speak, a backward step. And we've all been really happy with that. And, during the week, there was the umpiring pressure and the spotlight was put on him, and there was all of that. And, he was getting free kicks early in the game. And maybe he just felt like, yeah, this is it, boys. This is the game that it's my turn kind of thing. And look, the effort was there. Like, you can tell he's trying, he's doing it from a place of, I want to be great. And you can't question that. And maybe it's just a part of his development as a leader. He's in his second year as captain now. Doc is in his first year as well. I guess he was captain last year, but he wasn't playing. So he's in his first year as the on-field captain. And you look at Scott Penderbury speaks about it. Dangerfield has spoken about it. Selwood has spoken about it. Every captain in the AFL that I've listened to speak about it says the same thing. Your first year as captain is always a challenging one because it's a new experience. It's not just game week anymore. It's meetings. It's, decisions. It's off-field stuff. It's disciplining people, and it takes away from, really playing that game. And maybe I'm giving them an out, but there is a reality to, I've heard this from some of the great captains, your first couple of years as captain, it's an adjustment. So there is a little bit of that. And with the Cripps situations, he tries a little too much. He just didn't get to the basics. And you want to be able to rely on your leaders. And I thought in that second quarter, Murph and Jones in particular,
they let us down.
Oh, it was tough to watch because I know a lot of people have really gone hard at him, but for me, it was coming more from a place of, come on, guys, you're better than that. Come on, what are you doing? I don't want to be criticizing them, but it's like, come on, guys.
It was just one of them days where the wheel falls off. I think we've all had them in whatever sport you play, whether it's recreational or professional, you have it where one day everything goes perfect and you have no idea why, and sometimes when it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back to the Cripper thing, I personally thought Cripper took so much on because for the first time we didn't see Satterfield step up.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see Gibbons step up. And I saw a bit of 2018 Cripper, you know, boys, get on my back.
Yep.
And that was my worry in that, because to me, I thought we were beyond this. And that worries me because that's going to ruin Cripper's career if he has to keep doing that.
Yep. Let me get through some comments here on YouTube. Rafi Vartanian, too much pressure on himself, talking about Crips. Yep. Fallen Sports, it wasn't you let the gas pedal off you on purpose. I think it's just you can't run with your game style on that ground for long enough. That's a good point. Julian Bone, come on, Port. Is it Port supporter? Big game for you tonight, Julian. Josh Newell, yes, Mackay needed to have that shot. He should be confident taking that. I think Cripps thinks since the umpires are looking after him, he can do a lot more and just tried a little too hard. Black Carrot says, I reckon Casbolt plays better when McGovern isn't around. Josh Loft says, Cripps seems too eager to win that. He forgets that his presence and him just playing his role will get us there. That's an interesting one. Ari Stamatakos, no need to panic. Every young team will get a spanking now and again, as well as giving out some. The bad will come, the good will come as well. Still a young and naive team. We will mature. Black Carrot, Cripper wanted to do it in his home state.
Yeah.
The 2K God says, the loss was just a lack of composure. We started the game with a couple of goals and then they kicked some goals. Instead of us being composed and kicking more goals, we panicked. Josh Clev says, we need a big gun to help Cripps like Wines and obviously Papley to get us that goal. We need to get out of trouble. And so on and so forth. So I want to turn the focus now to the votes, which it's so hard doing them after a game like that because, you don't want to be rewarding mediocrity. But as hard as it is when we win and you don't know who to slide out of your votes, we've got to do it in a loss. So for you guys at home, I'm going to ask Dan first and then we'll turn to you and I'll give mine as well. Give us your 1, your 2, and your 3 votes. Dan, let's start with you.
1 vote goes to a guy that has had a phenomenal year already, Levi Casbolt. I really enjoyed his presence. He looked to make something happen all the time. It didn't always work out, but I did enjoy his game. And he was one guy that I thought put 4 quarters together and did his job for 4 quarters and could walk off the ground without any regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say. 2, the man, the myth, the legend, Jacob Wheater, he's just killing it. And even though he had a tough job against Gunston, he lost some, he won some. I thought pretty much they broke even throughout the game, and I enjoyed his game. And 3 votes to my boy, the man that makes me believe when he kicks goals. Even though we were taking on a lot of fire, I still believe we might go on and win the VC, and that was old Jack Martin. I thought he's exemplary, just everything he does. I love him.
Yep, fair enough. I went 1 for Levi, same as you. I wanted to put Cripps in there, but I just found it difficult to have him in there. He actually played a pretty good game, but some of the errors just hurt and the leadership hurt. So I thought Levi did his role pretty well and went into the ruck and did other things as well and kicked his 3 goals. So I thought he was humming along nicely until I think it was Pitternet that got hurt. Jack Martin got my 2 votes and Jacob Wiedering got my 3. So not so different to you.
Jacob
Wiedering is one of the few that really looked, just even when we lose, he still looks like he's playing well and composed and makes the right decisions. And so I really enjoyed his game. I'm going to go through your votes at home. We'll start on Facebook this time. Debbie O'Connor, 1 Levi, 2 Levi, and 3 Levi.
Love Debbie's votes.
I love that. Tyler Shaw gave 1 to Kerno, 2 to Casbolt, 3 to Wiedering. Tyson Munro says that Jack Martin was best on ground. Let's go to YouTube. Rafi gave 3 to Casbolt, 2 to Jack Martin, 1 to Levi. Okay, love it. He gets 2 votes.
I like that.
2 sets of votes.
Sneak him in.
Yeah, I like what he's done there. Junior Time says Levi was good and gives him the 3. He gives Martin the 2 and Noon's the 1. Tanush Kaka, Jack Martin being good. Ready to Fly says 1 Martin, 2 Casbolt, 3 Wiedering. Flinny Wolf says 1 Martin, 2 Doherty, 3 Casbolt. Josh Lofts, 1 Wiedering, 2 Casbolt, 3 Martin. Josh Newell says 3 to Jack Martin, 2 to Cripps, and 1 to Ed or Levi. Why Do I Like says 3 to Martin, 2 to Casbolt, 1 to Wiedering. Julian Bone says 1 to Martin, 2 to Casbolt, 3 to Wiedering. Paul Walsh, 3 to Wiedering, 1 to Wiedering, 2 to Martin, 3 to Cripps. Apologies, mate. or as he's now known as Tofu.
Yeah, big tofu, isn't it? Yeah,
Big Tofu.
vegan.
Yeah. So that's that. We're gonna have to move on.
Yeah,
It's good.
100%.
Therapy session. We can talk about it. Yes, disappointing. Is it a bump along the road? We're going to get back off our feet. What we've done this year, and that's where I've got a little bit more confidence than in years gone by, is after a disappointing loss like that one, we've had the ability to back it up with a good performance. Now, can we win in West Coast? Well, let's move to it. Before I move to the West Coast game, I do want to share a little something here because there's a little bit of news that's come through, not related to the men's side, but the women's team. One of our favourites here at Blue Abroad, some would say our absolute favourite of favourites, Sarah Hosking, has unfortunately departed and has been traded to Richmond for, pick 15?
Yeah, she's now a Tig.
I'm flat.
It's sad, but we've got Deer coming in. Elise Deer from the old Melbourne captain is going to be that. And also 2 top 20 picks. So 2 top 15 picks in this year's draft. We probably are in need of some youth to really complement the young core we've got. Because you'd say our starting lineup is cemented. 2 new girls come in. Strong position. I think we got a lot of money for Sarah, but she's a great stalwart for the club and great for Richmond, though.
Yep.
Because now they get to see her and Monique Conte, who for me, my favourite non-Carlton player. So now Sarah takes that job off her. Should be exciting because we want a strong Richmond. For me, that competition needs the traditional male rivalries. It needs to be replicated in the female domain. So I'd love an Essendon female team as well. I think that'd be grouse to have them things. But best of luck to her. She's now a superstar at that club as well now.
Yeah,
we love you though, Sarah.
Sad times. Thank you for everything, Sarah Hosking.
So now we can just say we've got the better sister anyway.
Yeah, that's
Go
it.
Jess. We got your back, girl.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the West Coast game, talk about it for a little bit, more so from a few different points. So number one, which is, I guess, still reeling off from round 9. We're going to play West Coast in round 11. Let's talk about changes to this week. So we're playing on Sunday, I believe. Are you making any changes this week? And if so, what are the changes that you're making?
I would do, yes. I would do. I would be, pending on if he's fit or not. Jesus would be coming back in. We've got the 2 weeks he was meant to come back in after the bye. So Jesus would come in for Callum Moore. And I would be inclined to give Murphy a spell. And I would be bringing in Josh Honey. I would be. And I'd even hazard a guess that I think SPS needs a spell as well. I think for me, his position, halfback flank, we need meters gained. If you check his numbers for the last 2 weeks, he's been getting the meters gained when we're on top. He's not providing us that run and carry, though, when we need that relief.
Yeah.
And in the second and third quarter, we needed someone just to pick the ball up and run with it.
Yeah.
And he was very reluctant, kept kicking back into trouble, puts a lot of pressure when that kick doesn't work. So for me, I hate to say this, and I'm going to get panned in the comments, but Debbie is going to support me with this. We're bringing in Cam Paulson for SBS. I'm bringing him in because he's getting glowing reports. So hate on me. I am thinking about what is the point of having a reserve side if we don't utilize the play as well.
That's fair.
So create some selection integrity. Cam Paulson would come in.
So Samo, Murph, and Moore out for Paulson, Honey, and Jack Silvani. Gotcha. Murph's an interesting one. It's been that week, hasn't it, for Murph? The people who think he's finished have really come out and they've sort of said, oh, he's been playing bad football for a while. I find that interesting because
I don't think so. I think that's harsh.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, he was leading the coaches' votes last week. This week it wasn't a good game, and you touched on it before. He's not a physical midfielder, and that's not the hallmark of his game. And I spoke about it in my review with Murph. So Murph was the prolific midfielder, the guy who we look to get the ball in his hands 20, 25 times a game. And you don't excuse the defensive efforts, but you know that he can hurt you offensively so much that you sort of let that slide a bit. And now he's entering this phase where, this is for me anyway, if he doesn't add this physical element to his game and lead in that way, well, he's not getting as many touches as what he was. He's not the prolific midfielder anymore. So if he's not that anymore, he's going to have to rise in a different way. And maybe, there maybe has to be a bit of an evolution to his game. And I think we have seen lesser impact from him and Simo this year. I don't know if I'd be dropping Murph personally. I think it wasn't a good game from Murph on the weekend, and I would be giving him the week to respond. Some sort of a conversation around, hey, if you don't play well this week, I'm going to have to make a statement. But I do think there is going to come a time where a statement's going to need to be made. I mean, you look at North Melbourne, they dropped Polek, who was their best player against us, and senior player. They're the guy they pay a lot of money for, and they drop him. They make a statement. I think Bucky talked about it in his review about he would hope that Cunningham isn't the scapegoat and more and whatnot. He hopes it's he hopes it doesn't go that way. But yeah, I would be putting Murph on a bit of notice, like, hey, we need more from you, because if you're not going to be able to stick tackles and bring the physicality, and you're going to be missing targets, which is what you made your name for, then there's going to be some criticism coming his way. So I can't help but feel that. But for you guys at home, I'm going to go through your changes as well. I'll start on Facebook. Alistair Armadale, Murph will bounce back. I agree. Totally. And yes, I'm totally biased because he's my favorite player, but
we love Murph. We believe in it.
Curtis says, no, please no Paulson. There are 10 players ahead of him. Rocco Morrow, our mids are going to have to rove to Nick Nat on Sunday. Ben Cavender, resting Murphy means he returns with energy. I mean, they've got an 8-day break, so I don't know. Tyson Munro, Murph out, Fisher in, Noons out, Honey in, SPS out, O'Brien in, Moore out, TDK in. So he's gone the big chop there.
I like the axe.
Chris Matthews, what about Cunningham? Where are we? Debbie, Marchie won't play. Stop your Paulson hate. Sorry, Deb. I don't hate Paulson. I just don't believe he's.
I'll put him in. Love me.
I just don't believe.
Focus on me.
Look. This isn't about who's right or wrong. This is just all opinion based. And you're right. Paulson has been getting some good reviews. I just worry about if he was to have the ball. I don't have that confidence in him, me personally. But anyway, let's turn to YouTube. Mike Oxlong, agreed. Paulson for SPS.
Yes.
Tanush, why is Murph getting dropped? Riley, yes, drop Samo, but not sure about Paulson. Josh Clevs, Paulson against everyone. Gee whiz. Julian Bone, take a risk for the match. Why do I like says hashtag Honey needs another game. Adam Gould says Honey in for more, who I don't think has any place on a football field. Ari Stamatako says Cam Paulson should never play a game in the ones again. Jack Plumbridge, SPS 100% needs to be dropped. Adrian Salerno, create some selection integrity. Why do I like says Paulson comes back in against a team like Sydney or Adelaide or Fremantle, not this game. Tanush says Noons for attack. Josh Clevs is asking about Zach Fisher. Yep. Anthony Ioannidis. Does anyone know how Govey's fit-wise? Ian Brownie. Is our midfield too one-dimensional with Setters, Cripps, Kennedy, Curnow, and Murph? Should guys like Walsh, Cunners, and Gibbons get more time on the ball to change things up and bring more speed? Well, they are. Maybe not Cunners, but Gibbons is. Walsh has gone to a wing. Setters is in there. I saw that argument come up this week, and I think there's some merit to it. If you have Kennedy, Setterfield, Cripps in that midfield, are we lacking a little something there? And with Fisher, I'm a little bit mindful of this with not just with Fisher, but with Samo, because our 2016 draft crop, the big draftees from that group was Samo and Fisher. Now Fisher's not playing. He's been back in the reserves game for a couple of weeks, and he's not playing. He obviously there's a belief there that he's not good enough to play against who else is playing right now. Samo, I've been criticized for criticizing him because I've not taken into account that he's playing a new role. But like you said, is he on the halfback flank to be a lockdown? Is he on the halfback flank to provide offense and drive and meters gained? Because if he is, I'm not seeing that personally. And I'm worried about that. The 2017 crop, they're not playing. I know Dow's been injured. O'Brien hasn't been injured. He just hasn't cracked into the side. Is it time to worry about that? Is that a worry for you?
Not really, no, because there's a few games left. I'll start to worry that if they haven't been in the conversation by the end of the season, by next year, I'll start to worry. I'll give them till then. But I mean, for me, they've shown enough at the moment to have a relative excitement about.
Yep.
But for me, I think all your points there are valid about Samo and players like that. I think we've got to look at a change. We've got to look at a change. And if Samo's not, for me, at halfback, he has to get the meters gained. He has to break lines. He has to find a way of impacting a game like every other halfback flank does in the competition.
Yeah.
And if he's not, why is he there?
Yeah.
And to me, I would like to see Paulson. One of the 2 write-ups this week have been the line breaks. And I was watching the Hawthorn game and I was thinking, only someone will pick up the ball and just take it on.
Yep.
Spread them, make them stop being so forward press.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I mean, to answer the Hawthorn question about on the ball, I think that's a great thing as well. I think this week we didn't rotate. I believe, according to Champs Data, it was our lowest on the ball rotations all year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got a very good point. Why wasn't Walsh and other players thrown on the ball just to add a bit of spice, because they got on top of us quickly?
I just got done on YouTube. Mike Oxlong has absolutely got me a beauty there, and I didn't realize. So they're all going crazy in the comments.
What's he do?
Say those 2 words closer to each other, but quickly. Anyway, Black Carrot, thanks for the $20 donation. Well done, well played. You got me.
Well done.
Damn it.
1-0.
Damn it. Black Carrot has made a $20 donation.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you, mate. Great show so far, fellas. The axe may swing this week, depending on Teague. Mike, if you're there, hit me up on Instagram later. I've got a little something for you. I swore I wouldn't get gotten to this year. I swore I wouldn't get gotten. Why do I like, says Teague. What are we going here? There's a few more that I liked. Andrew Bakes, could Samo play like a Caleb Daniel or someone like that? I think that's further to your point.
Yeah.
There's just a lack of energy. And I thought he looked really, really good in the preseason. I even thought he looked pretty good in round 1. And then slowly but surely, there's been just this subtle decline. Black Carrot, I'm still seeing a lot of our players over competing with each other. There must be some communication breakdown. Alistair R. Medell, I thought Teague was about playing to players' strengths. So why are we playing SPS? Why aren't we playing SPS on the ball? That's a good point. Chris Matthews, SPS has no excuse for his feeble efforts, has played 70-plus games, and he's a number 6 pick. Dylan Delaney, how long before Dow and he's kicking his back? Tyson Munro, agree, SPS and Cunners need to play midfield. If not, there is simply no place for them in the team. Dow and O'Brien will be in our best 22 next year. So it's interesting. People want to see Cunners in there. There's a mix of things going on. So those are the selection issues. And now what I want to do is spend the remainder of the show doing a bit of a mid-season review. And this is going to be, I'm going to, put some questions up, and I want you guys to answer in the comments. We've gone through half a year. We're 9.
Crazy, isn't it?
We're 9 rounds in. We're 4 and 5. I'm going to start with the question I asked. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I just want yeses or nos. Are we an improved side in 2020?
Yes.
It was a resounding yes 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So we've improved for
Yes.
you. Okay. For you guys at home, have we improved this year in 2020? Please just put a yes or a no, because I want to keep track of this. Every couple of weeks I'll ask it. And I noticed someone asked me earlier today that we've gone backwards, and I thought, okay, well, that's the first time I've seen it. So I wonder if people's feelings towards our season have changed. So do you think we've still improved? And there's a lot of yeses. Hilltop Hoodlum, Cadrick, Chungas, Lachlan Gaff, Oscar Carver says no. There's a no. Oliver Toth, yep. Angus Kidman, yes. Tanush Kakar, yes. Rafi Vartanian, yes, yes, yes. So for the most part, there's that. Okay. I did my mid-season review in my video this morning, and that's on the channel. So I'm going to take a step back and let everyone else talk for a bit. So my first question is, what has worked in the first 9 games? Start with you, and then you guys at home answer in the comments. What has worked?
Well, we've finally done the model that all the top teams do, and that has taken what is in vogue in the AFL and made it our strength. So our ability to score from turnovers is huge. It's what all the top sides do for the last 5 years. Every side has ranked high on that ability. So I think that is a huge thing. We've always been good defensively. Bolton had us as one of the best defensive sides in the league in 2017. And it was always that touch. That was the question mark about Carlton. They can defend, but when they get the ball, what do they do with it? Now we've got a clear, regimented game plan. When we play well, how we're going to move it, and there is an identity at this football club for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the second thing we've improved, and I think this is huge, and I'd love to hear what the fans' views of this. I think the optimism has improved. The belief, there is an actual real belief in the football club. Now, when I go through the forums, I'm not seeing nonsensical rubbish like we're going to get better because we've had 5 top 5 picks. We're now actually having conversations like we're getting better because SPS is showing us his ability to hit targets. McKay is taking marks and kicking goals. We're starting to see reasons why we're getting better. And I think there's an optimism. And I genuinely aren't that upset about the Hawthorn loss because I actually believe for the first time in a long time, when we copper hiding, we're learning. It's a little bit like when I was a kid and my granddad would take me out the back and give me a spank. I actually learned a lesson from it. So do you know what I mean? It wasn't just being slapped. I'd actually not do it again. So for me, I see a huge improvement in that demographic. I do see they don't make the mistake twice every week. And I'm excited about the Eagles game because this is a new way we've lost to Hawthorn.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see if we can adjust to a side that has got probably, for me, the best midfield in the comp for combinations.
Mm-hmm.
I think their midfield is sick.
Yep. Josh Cleves says how our biggest improvement is our depth. Fisher, J Sauce, Lockie O'Brien, Dow, Lang ended last year in our team. Hilltop Hoodlum. Our pressure has been a lot better, and some of the ball movement through the year at times has been the best that he's seen in a while. Yep. Andrew Bakes, I reckon we play like Adelaide did a few years ago where they made the granny. 2K God, they have definitely improved at making me want to watch the whole game this year.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
I love it.
We'll take it. I'll turn to Facebook. Tyler Shaw, fast ball movement, turnovers, scoring, and definitely agree with Dan. Definitely belief. We're learning from every loss, says Alistair R. Medell. Simon Joyce, Casbold's kicking. Weeders and Doc have been a wall. Curtis DeLorio, I've mucked that up, sorry. Taking the game on, contested marks, kick to handball ratio, the fast football. So it's still there. We're still confident. And for the majority of what I'm seeing here, Ari says not relying on Cripps, capitalization of forward half turnovers, pressure, being able to perform despite injuries, had key players out most of the year and still being able to compete. So that's what's worked. I'm be happy with that. Let's turn to what hasn't worked. And I want to reel off some stats here because I think the inconsistency in games is obviously, I'm going to guess, is what's not working for a lot of people. So in the comments below, turn the attention to what hasn't worked for us this year. And I'll start the conversation by reeling off some moments this year that Riley Starrage put up in his rant this week, which was, I think, his best for the year. It was so well structured and well put. He talked about the inconsistency in games, and these are some moments that we've watched this year. So Richmond, we concede the first 5 goals. Melbourne, we concede the first 7 goals. Geelong, we concede the last 5 goals. Essendon, we concede 4 goals in a row. St Kilda, we concede 7 of the first 8 goals. Port Adelaide, we concede the last 5 scoring shots and 10 of the last 11 inside 50s. And then Hawthorn, we concede 7 goals in a row. Is that number one on what's not working? What is it for you?
It's a tough one. I mean, for me, them stats there don't tell the whole story because Geelong just went all out and no one can defend against that. Very few sides can. So for me, I think what doesn't work for me is our ability to change in-game when we're losing from the start is phenomenal. Our ability to change in-game when we've won and then lost is woeful at the moment. Yeah. I don't know why it is. I don't know if that's something that Teague has to learn, if that's something that, obviously, I know from a sportsman's perspective, when you're winning and then you lose it by your own stupidity, that is a bitter pill. It's really hard to dust yourself off and come back again. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to be beaten than to be your own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's maybe a culture thing as well. That's something that we're going to have to iron out of ourselves and do a few times. But for me, I think that's probably my biggest criticism, our ability to change when the pressure's on. We're very good at hunting. When we're hunted, though, and we've got a target on our back, don't think we've learned to deal with that yet.
Yep.
And that's going to take a while.
Potato Gaze has made a $6 donation. Thank you very much. And Potato Gaze says, our ability to finish a game. So that's That's one thing there. I'll get to you guys. Alistair, gents, who is so far the most improved and least improved? Those are the next questions. So hold that for a moment. Tyler Shaw, not a strong enough midfield. Disposal efficiency and composure. Adam Tournoy, ability in the coach's box to make decisions and changes to what is happening when we're down. Tyson Munro, the ability to change our game plan mid-quarter is the biggest issue. Jesse Carter, conceding too many goals to opposition mids. Debbie, some fans are so fickle. When we win, they say we shouldn't have. It's papering over the cracks. When we lose, it's the end of the world. Tyson Munro, we've nearly got the squad to go the whole way with only a few missing pieces. Next, a great year of learning. Next year will be huge, especially without injuries. Fair enough. Simon Joyce, Kerno's knee, mids disappearing during games, sometimes tackle pressure. Curtis says we can't produce 4 quality quarters on the YouTube. Your comments here. Josh Clevs, what hasn't worked? They're having the killer instinct. All of our wins have been close, apart from the Doggies one. Josh Clevs, either starting well then flopping or starting horrible and coming back too late. That's an interesting one. 2K Guide says only having one convincing win. Andrew Bakes, defensive side for the whole team where they should defend coming out of our forward line and the structure is lost so far. Fair enough. Rafi says consistency is our biggest issue. The Bulldogs game proved we can do it. It just needs to happen more. Josh Newell, too many heart attack games. We don't stick our tackles often and just get in their face without tackling. Cadrick, problem is we have no vocal leaders. When the opposition is up, we can't change the game and we lose games that we should win. Ari says starts, lapses in concentration, game management. The good thing is these issues will fiddle out once our players get more experience. Players like Setters, Walsh, Cunners, SPS will come with age. That's all fair enough. I think that's fine. I'm going to ask the next question now. Who has been our best player so far? So if you were giving out the best and fairest, who are you giving the best and fairest to?
I think there's only one answer to this, Jacob Wiedering. I
Wiedering?
don't think there can be another answer.
Yep.
I won't allow another answer.
I'm not going to ask you what you think.
No, genuinely for me, I think he has been consistently our best player week in, week out. I think he's done a marvellous job. And I think from where he was last year to where he is now, he's in another stratosphere. So definitely for me, best player so far.
Yep, Jacob Wiedering. What about you guys at home? Rafi Vartanian says Wiedering. Black Carrot says Jack Martin. Potato Gaze says Martin. Josh Newell says Wiedering for sure. Lachlan Gaff says Martin 100%.
I'll allow Martin because I love him.
Mike says Wiedering for sure. Thanks, Savaz. Why do I like says Doherty. Cadrick says Murphy. I think you're being a little silly there. Jasper White, Martin is a lock.
Was that you as Murphy? Have you just like...
Yeah, I've just got my burner account. Jack Plumbridge, Wiedering easy. Anthony Ioannidis, Wieders or Setters. Josh Clev says Terry and Pom. Thanks, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Stop it.
I'll take the beer.
Stop it. Yeah, I'll take a beer.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Ari says Wiedering, the only player in our team that's a lock for all Australian. Without him, we would have lost a lot more games, maybe 2 and 7. Martin is a close second. Yeah. Triple Eight Curly. Wieders without a doubt, followed by Jay Martin and Mr. Plough. Yeah. Cadrick says, I love the Murph. Boys, we know you do, mate. Jesse Carter says Wiedering. Debbie O'Connor says Wiedering, Plowman, and Levi. Chris Matthews says Wiedering and Martin, the only two worth mentioning. Shad. Well, see what you've done there, mate.
Hey,
see what you've done there.
The speed.
Look at this, mate. He's on his burner account, the Shad Daddy account. Not our best so far, but needs a mention. Gibbo. He does.
He does, yeah.
He does.
Gib dog.
He's been, he might come up in one of the next questions. Alistair says, Wieders for sure. You blokes are a close second. Thanks, mate.
I don't mind being second to Wieders.
So, yeah, I had Wiedering as well. I mentioned it in my mid-season review video. So the next question for you guys is, who is our most improved player from 2019? Now, obviously, Jack Martin can't be there. Obviously, big props to Jack Martin. We paid some big money for Jack Martin, and I think he's already endeared himself to the club.
Absolutely god of it.
So we'll give him that. That's probably something that we're still waiting for from Mitch McGovern. And that's what I feel anyway. But let's turn the focus to who's our most improved player so far, from 2019 to 2020. Let us know.
Will Satterfield.
Okay.
I'm going to go with. I've been really impressed that he started to become this big-bodied midfielder.
Yep.
No, it's been quite inconsistent. Last week wasn't very good. A couple of weeks ago was a little bit.
His round 1 and 2 games
Yeah.
were really poor.
Yeah. So we had the 2 weeks poor, and then we had last week's poor. But for me, his body of work has been very impressive, and he looks like we've got that big body. That was something we talked about in the preview this year. If you go back like 6 months ago, we said we need someone to say it's in-house. Ideally, we need a midfielder to stand up and say we don't need to spend big money. I'm here, and there's a carrot dangled. I think he's taken the carrot, and for me, he looks like he may have that job. And I've been impressed by him.
Yep, he was also mine. For you guys at home, Tyler Shaw says Setterfield. Adam Tornoy says Setterfield. Curtis Iorio says Setters. Josh Marino says Cam Polson. Jesse Carter says Levi Casbolt. Chris Matthews says Setterfield until last week. Chris, who is your most improved then if it's not Setterfield? Tyson Munro says Gibbons. Paul Mancini says Wiedering. That is the other thing as well. Obviously, he's been our best player, so therefore he's probably our most improved, but I'm trying to get...
Yeah, I tried to separate it, but I agree with that.
Yeah.
He probably is.
He probably is technically our best and most improved, but yeah, we're trying to, give someone else some light. Adam G. Pantalidi says, I hate to say it, but Casbolt, mate, why do you hate to say it? That should be it,
Hopefully Debbie doesn't
an
say that comment
thing
for your sake.
Well, Debbie says Setters. Matko Muslin says Setterfield as well. Garen Fisher says Casbolt and Gibbons.
Yeah.
Peter Allen says Gibbo. Aiden says Darcy Lang. Banter. You guys are getting me tonight. Khan Duman says Setters. Dean Ponton says Big Levi. Black Carrot says Plowman's been our most improved easily.
Yeah, that's been good as well. Been a few actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'd say off the top of my head, there's about 5.
That have actually improved. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's solid.
Tanush says Jack Martin. Hilltop Hoodlum says Jack Martin. Josh Clare's most improved Pom. When I first came across the channel, wasn't the biggest fan. Now I love the bloke. There you go, man.
Hey, I tell you,
who would have thought a bit of new wave in the hair and a shirt, mate? Who would have thought?
I like it. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Okay, so that's our most improved, and I don't want to turn this into a shit show and we're bagging players, but who are we looking at so far this year who we feel is regressing, least improved, or maybe gone a little backwards from last year that we're a little bit worried about because we know how much better they can be? Who is that player for you?
So most concerned.
Most concerned.
SPS. Massively
concerned
I am.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, I'm the same as you. It's coming from a place of we just know how talented he is. And there's a little bit of, I don't know what role he's playing, so maybe I shouldn't be commenting. And, we have that block as fans because we only know what we know based on the information that we're given, which is not everything. But yeah, I'm concerned with Samo. You guys, some of you have said Paulson. Rafi says Lang. Catrick says Murphy. Yuval says Murphy. Josh Newell says SPS. Potato Gay says Plowman. Black Carrot says Murphy. Hilltop Hoodlum. SPS has been good or okay in spurts, I should say, but I'd love to see more. Rowan says Murph and SPS. Jack Plumbridge says SPS. Lachlan Gaff. Sam Walsh with kick, I hope too much. Jad says the age of the team is a concern. Year 5 of a rebuild. Shouldn't have 5 30-plus-year-olds. I'm worried. 888 Curly says O'Brien I'm worried about. Don't want to lose him through lack of opportunity. Yuval says Jones. Tanush says Mitch McGovern. Adam Torinoy on Facebook says Simo and Samo. Josh Winch says Samo as well. Bryce Riches, Dow not getting a game. Fisher also not making it in our 22. He's worried about that. And SPS struggling to hold his spot this year, I feel. Junior Time says Casbolt is the most improved, who also, shout out to Ems, my fiance, who watches your lives with me. Most concerned is Fisher. Shout out to you, Ems, and thank you, Junior Time. Debbie says Samo. Tyson says Murph. Samo from Tyler. Jesse Carter says Lang. Patrick Cripps from Josh Marino. Curtis says your boy Murphy. Yeah. There's a few.
They love it when Murphy goes wrong.
No, I find it hard to bag him, but I've got to be consistent.
To be fair, you've done well. You've actually slated him a couple of times this year, so hats off to you for that, because that's tough, man.
It's
tough.
He's my boy. He's my absolute boy of all boys. So, I
think Lockie was a great point, because I was between him, because he was someone who was a walk-up start last year and was showing a bit. Last 6 games of the year, he looked really good.
Yep.
We just haven't seen him.
Yeah.
And he can't get back in the team.
Well, Nunes has come in, and it's kind of like, I feel like Noons is the spot if he was to come in, right?
Yeah, and you can't go past them biceps, man. They're stellar biceps.
Yeah. I mean, when you kick 2 goals,
How
in a
good was
quarter,
Noons as well? Like I had a speech written for all the Noon haters, and I had to put it back in the shelf for next week. Come on, Noonsy, help me out. Bro.
Oh gosh. So those are the questions. I'm not sure if I had any more. So most improved, least improved. Oh, that's right. The final question for our mid-season review is: I want you to give us a rating out of 10 for what you've seen this year. I've done mine in my video. I won't say it now for those who haven't watched it yet. But Pom, we'll start with you, and then for you guys at home, give us a score out of 10. What is your rating for this team? Where are we sitting at?
I've got 2 ratings. Start of the season.
Don't sit on the fence, you
start
weak.
of the season with my expectations of what I thought was going to happen.
Yep.
Based on that, we're 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have it as a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Right, I'd have it a 9 out of 10. However, based on what I've seen, the body of work,
Yep,
I'm giving it a 7.
A 7. Okay.
Because I believe that the games they've lost, they are more than capable of putting away them Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
And we've lost to 2 Mickey Mouse sides in that.
We Mickey.
So you get deducted a point per Mickey Mouse.
So every loss to a Mickey Mouse team, you lose a point. Okay, fair point. Fair point. There's a lot of ratings here. Rafi 6, Black Carrot 6.5, Kenny 9, 6 out of 10, Cadtrick 6, Josh Newell 6, 2K God 7, Potato Gaze 8.5, Peter Potato.
A few potatoes.
7. Love it.
What's with the potatoes?
I think I know where it's coming from. Tanush 7, Ali 7, Ian Brownie 7, Khan Dooman 7.5, Lachlan Gaff 8.9, Angus Kidman 7.5, Rowan Vertigan 7, Anthony Ioannidis 7, Triple Eight Curly 7 out of 10 above my expected, but can still improve. Jesse Carter 7.5, Matt Go with a 7. A lot of 7s, a lot of 6s. We're
I'm
there.
impressed that people have gone like 7.2. There was like a 7.2 in it. That is stellar work. I love someone who uses a decimal place.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. I gave us a 6. I can't
Brutal.
help but feel like the Hawthorn loss took us from a 7 to a 6 for me.
Brutal.
It was just it was. But you made a fair point, and someone asked a question that you raised.
I can't see comments as well, so it's
Yeah.
a chance to slate me.
So I'm going to turn this now. So that's the mid-season review done. We've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to turn to a bit of a Q&A session. There's a few on Instagram that we'll get through. But this one from Adam Tornoy, who's been in the comments tonight, all night.
A few times, yeah.
Why are we so harsh when we lose? I try look for the positives out of most games, and on past years, we are so much better. Are people expecting too much because other teams seem to have gotten better quicker? People learn and grow at different rates. From a coach that has taken over the last year, I think we're doing well. Most coaches have been there for a few years to get the results now. Thoughts? I could not agree with this more. And it probably just comes down to expectations. I think there's a bit of we're going through a tough time now. There's a bit of angst in society, and football is the release, and criticism is the ability to blame someone and take the frustrations out of. But yeah, I sensed after the Hawthorn loss, like, oh boy, I messaged you and I said, lads, I'm turning off, because it gets really harsh. It does. And
I love it though.
I'm not here to police anyone. Everyone can say whatever they want, and everyone's accountable for their own words. But yeah, why do we get so mad after it? Like so mad.
I mean, I was fairly calm this week. I thought, like in my review, I wasn't as angry as I usually am. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for the fans. So please, in your comments, tell us how your emotions are affected. But for me personally, I just believe in this side. So from round one, I was very positive, very upbeat. I believed I'd seen enough from them that this was their step up. This was their destiny to be in the 8. To be there or thereabouts. And I judge them now as a top 8 side.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I want to be. I believe that the quickest way to get to where you need to be is you start walking it, fake it till you make it.
Yep.
And for me, yeah, I don't think I was angry. Well, I was angry at this loss, but I think I was disappointed because they're capable of beating Hawthorn. Like, no disrespect for Fallen Sports, great side Hawthorn. This year, you should be battering them monkeys, man. Like, we should have put them away. They were woeful for the last 3 weeks, and 30 points up. But you could see the cracks appearing, and that's where my anger stems from, because they give you such beautiful football, and then next time they can give you the worst thing in the world. It's like being catfished, isn't it? Like, you see the first quarter and you say, "Oh, look, I look really pretty there," and then they turn up and it looks like me without my hair done.
Jadlius Catch. Hey guys, team seems a bit old. Are you concerned that this may be a false dawn? No, I don't think so.
Top 8.
I don't think so.
Top 8. Get around
Daniel
it.
Martino, this is from Instagram. Murphy and Cunner's got to switch roles in the midfield.
Oh, wow.
Bryce 0002. With 8 rounds to go, what do you now believe is a success for the season based on wins? That is a bloody great question. Let's ask that. We've got 8 games left. We can sort of figure out who they are based on who we've played. What is a pass mark for you for the remaining 8 games?
Top 10.
10th or higher. Yep. So we've probably got to win 4 more. I would have thought.
I reckon we can get what? We got 7 more games left. I reckon we can easily do 4 out of 7.
I think we've got 8.
8, sorry. Yeah. I reckon we can easily do 5 out of 8.
5 out of 8. 5 out of 8.
Lock it in.
Okay. Interesting. This is the last question for you guys at home. 8 games left. What would make you satisfied? We get to the end of the year. What would allow you?
Yeah, satisfied after I've said 5 out.
Yeah. What would allow you after this next block of 8 games? And we're going to revisit this as we go along. But what is the pass mark for you from the remaining 8 games? What is it? You get to the end of the year and you can say, okay, I'm satisfied with what we did this year. We can move on to next year and get better. So there's one for you. Kenny says 4 of them. Josh Newell says 8 of the 8. Black Carrot says 5. Cadtrick wants 10th. Ali agrees with you, top 10. 4 out of 8 wins at the absolute least from Ari.
We've got some teams to play. You've got to think as well. We've got Adelaide to play. Are they good?
Yeah, true. Debbie says 5 more. Joe Pace says 4.
Get around it,
Tyler Shaw, 4 to 5 wins. So, yeah, that's one that's a great question. Thank you so much for that, Bryce. But that's one we will track over the coming weeks. And, we've got a big game this week. We've got that chance to just get through it and get over it and move on. So with that, guys, that's the end of the show. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I hope that you've had an hour to just I love it. This makes me feel so much better. Today is another rough day for Victorians just because it seems to be...
First time I've got out of the house today. I've been well excited. Seen blue sky. Didn't know what it was.
It just seems to be getting worse and worse, and there's a lot of anger and angst and fear, and obviously hearts and thoughts go out to those that are being affected with what's going on because there's a lot of uncertainty. But I'm glad that we've been able to come here for an hour and just, talk about the club that we love, and hopefully next week we can start talking about a win. So thank you, everybody. Shad back there, love your work. Dan, thank you, mate. And as always, go the mighty, mighty Blues.
Go Blues.